Nate Webb from Seattle DUI Pros here to explain the criminal process in a really short video. So the first hearing that you're going to face, you'll be summoned in after your arrest, usually within a month or so, for an arraignment. If there's a blood draw involved in your case, it may take a little longer than that because it has to be processed at the toxicology lab, and then the results are sent to the prosecutor's office, and then they file charges. So usually within a month or so, however, on a breath test case or a refusal DUI case. So the arraignment is the first appearance when you're told what the charges are, the maximum penalties, the minimum penalties, and you enter a plea of not guilty. It's always expected that you would do so. Then the court would issue conditions of release, such as don't drive without license and insurance, don't drive with a breath test over 0.08 or THC concentration here in Washington of 5 nanograms or more per milliliter. Don't refuse a breath test of an officer who suspected you might have been consuming alcohol. So just kind of standard conditions to put a little control over each defendant. Then you're summoned back in for what's called a pretrial hearing. That's usually about 30 to 45 days later. At a pretrial hearing, it's a conference to determine what's going on with the case, how it's proceeding, if there's been any discovery issues, if anything needs to be exchanged further. There can be many of those, and eventually, though, if the resolution isn't reached, then the case would be set for jury trial. Prior to jury trial, you can have what's called an evidentiary hearing or a motions hearing, and this is where it can be differentiated between a good attorney and a bad attorney. An attorney who doesn't know what they're doing is going to talk you out of doing a motions hearing because they simply don't know how to convince a judge of flaws in the prosecutor's case. And so don't be dissuaded from taking your case in front of a judge. If you have a legitimate issue, it's something that needs to be litigated. It's really a kind of a mini jury trial where that's what I tell my clients, except for there's no jury. It's just the judge, the officer who arrested you, and the prosecutor, and what's happening is just a presentation of evidence, and then the court decides if there's a legal issue which would make this case go away or suppress some evidence, or none of the above. Many times this can happen and nothing will happen. The court will find that everything was kind of status quo and that the officer followed the rules and regulations that they were required to. And in that case, then you still have the opportunity to proceed to a jury trial. And so it's kind of an opportunity to address issues that have legal consequences, again, that could result in either a dismissal or suppression of the evidence. But after that, if you're not successful in getting the case dismissed, you have an opportunity to go to a jury trial. That's 6 persons here in Washington State Municipal or District Court, and I have another video on that. You can take a look at that. So that's kind of a real quick introduction on what to expect when going through the DUI process. Arraignment, pretrial, motions hearing. Usually there's what's called jury trial, or jury call, before the jury trial, and that's really just a hearing prior to the week of jury trial to establish if all the parties are actually ready to go forward, if there's any other issues that need to be addressed. And so after that, then there's a jury trial. And of course, in a jury trial, the burden of proof is beyond a reasonable doubt on the city or state, or as I say, government, to prove their case to all 6 persons. And then of course the outcome is not guilty, an acquittal, or a hung jury. A hung jury means where all 6 persons don't agree on a verdict. It could be 5-1 one way or 1-5. It doesn't really matter. If all 6 persons don't agree, it's a hung jury. Therefore, it's declared a mistrial, and we can do this whole process again. That doesn't happen a lot, but it has to happen to me before. So if you have any questions about anything to do with your DUI case, I know you've probably looked through a lot of videos here on this website. But give us a call, 425-398-4323, 425-398-4323, or fill out the form here and submit your comments, and we will address that as soon as we get it. Usually we can get back to it within just a few minutes. So again, Nate Webb from the Webb Law Firm.